most important reason for Baba Saheb Ambedkar's induction into the Constituent Assembly. We have to know this historical achievement that he did. 1947, India was getting independence. Baba Saheb, after independence, was looking at the country, looking at the state problems, and Baba Saheb wanted to have interest and intervention on two matters. The first intervention was the question of minorities, and second was formation of Indian states. He tried to get into the States Committee. He was not involved, and so did the question of minorities was kept hanging. We have to know, going up to the 1932 Pune Pact, Baba Saheb had redefined what it really means to be a minority. His first presentation before South Borough Commission in 1919 was itself qualitatively put forth, was proposing what a new minority consensus looks like, and that's how he said the minority in India is not numerical. The minorities in India is also not only religious, but a minority's definition has to be considered with the social and economic backwardness, and on that measure was mooted out. But Baba Saheb still had that idea in his mind. The constitution of Baba Saheb's 1947 had several radical ideas. It basically starts with the fundamental rights of the people. The man, when he's writing the constitution, the first thing he is thinking is about what are the fundamental rights, and fundamental rights are inalienable rights. They cannot be suppressed. They have to be maintained, and he's making a special provision for the scheduled caste in that, because that memorandum was presented on behalf of All India Scheduled Caste Federation. And what does that document talk about? Most importantly, and I would like to bring your attention to this aspect of that history. Now, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, when he's looking at minority questions, he's thinking minority is the most important aspect of any constitutional republic. And he says minorities are so important that despite there will be a majority, and it's not just political majority, but also what Baba Saheb Ambedkar calls is communal majority. And when he refers to the Hindu society, he says they are not just majority, they are communal majority, because they exercise the initiatives such as boycott. They do social boycotting. They also inflict atrocities. And these are the same people who are communal in their nature. That's why Baba Saheb Ambedkar's idea of minority itself was trying to debase the communalism of a majority in this. And he said, if the majority is making an important decision without the approval of minority, and it's not just the minority approval, it's also when you're electing head of state, you have to take the minority into consideration. That was the check on how an autocratic dictatorial system might come about. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's formula was to keep the majoritarian impulse into check, because he, being himself, knowing what this political majority does, was conscious about this future political nature that we are now discussing. So Baba Saheb Ambedkar's fundamental rights are about what should be the view of people living in the rubric of fundamental as well as basic human rights. So his clauses are framed like such as this. Clause 1 in that constitution Baba Saheb wrote was, first, judicial protection. He wanted the state to have the priority in protection. Second was protection against unequal system. The fourth was very important. This is where I want to bring your attention to: protection against economic exploitation. And Baba Saheb Ambedkar's, in that clause 4, subsection 1, 2 and 3, 4, A talks about industry, 2 talks about how to nationalize the industry. The third aspect he talks about is agriculture. And what he says, agriculture should be the state industry. He says we have to nationalize the land. And he says if you have to nationalize the land, let us not follow the bloodier path of the communists, but look at it by paying debentures. The state should buy the land and redistribute among the people. And what he says, clause 4, subsection 9, subsection 2 says, no landlord, no tenant, no landless laborer. That is the vision of our constitution that we should embrace as we think and debate about constitution. I really think, as we are in this process of thinking about various trajectories, people are talking here about what are the possible outcomes to the Hindutva politics of the Brahminical regime of BJP RSS, and they are proposing different kind of liberal formulas. The only antidote to Hindutva is Bahujanvad. The Bahujan politics can only be the subtle and direct affront and response to this kind of casteist, anti-minority the politics that they are doing, because at the end of the day, the political thinkers, be it Congress Brahmins or BJP Brahmins, Congress Brahmin is about to become a BJP Brahmin, or a BJP Brahmin will seldom become a Congress Brahmin. This is the dilemma that we face in construction of a modern nation state, where majoritarianism and minoritarianism face itself, and we have to pay attention to the minority formula that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar produced. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya.